Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about how to deal with people who have different political views than you. So, as most of you who have been with me for a while know, I'm pretty apolitical. I find benefits on both sides of the spectrum, left and right. I don't really address like political figures or controversial topics in a huge broad sense. I'm not a political pundit. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. But in our lives, we encounter people who have different political beliefs than our own. And I recently encountered this a few days ago. And we definitely like the other person in the conversation I was having, and like it was a spirited debate. But the other person had very different political views than I did. Some of the stuff we agreed on, we had mutual ground that we could discuss things on. But I thought, what an interesting topic to discuss in this hyperpolarized world where political views are really different from one another. You know, like I live in a rural conservative place, but I'm gay. And so those two factors tend to really cause a lot of interesting discussion in my life with the people I encounter, because I encounter people on both sides of the spectrum who are staunchly adamant that their side is correct and that the other side is bad, the other side is ruining society, and you tend to get like a lot of this sort of contentious, very spirited debate and argument. So I was hanging out with this person and we were talking about various political issues and like political issues of the day currently going on in our society, being talked about, you know, protests, all kinds of stuff. So we were having this discussion, and like I said, I didn't agree with this person, but we were able to have a really good conversation. We were able to talk about the issues. Neither of us got like heated. Neither of us resorted to name calling. Neither of us left the conversation feeling angry with one another or any of that kind of stuff. And a few of the concepts that I definitely tried to embody, and I think the other person did as well, involve sort of not taking your position too seriously, not coming to like really hard conclusions, not making assumptions of the other person's views or intelligence or those kinds of things. And I think one of the most effective things is I asked this person, I said, can you see it from the other side? Like, can you see why people might be in the street protesting the other side? And he sort of like was a bit puzzled by this, and then was eventually like, actually, you know what, I can. And then we basically had the reverse debate where he debated one side, he debated the opposite side that he believes in, I debated the opposite side that I believe in. And it was really interesting because the conversation was like very spirited. It was like a good conversation. It was very intellectual, and like it required quite a lot of like brain power. Like I was tired after, but it basically allowed both of us to understand where the other person is coming from. And I wasn't so much like when we went into this debate, I wasn't so much on one side or the other. I was kind of like, I was more interested in why each side of this debate believe the things that they believe. I didn't really come in it with like a strong, like, it must be this way. Like I'm kind of, like I said, I'm pretty apolitical, and that kind of extends into a lot of these things. You know, when you talk about politics and culture wars and all of these things, I generally don't really fall on one side or the other. I think usually the solution is somewhere in the middle, and people usually hate that. They usually get so mad that I'm kind of in the middle going, well, I can see both sides and I understand. And I think the answer is nuanced. It's not one way or the other. And usually people on the far left and the far right get really mad at me because they're like, you need to take a real position. And it's like, I have a real position. This is my position and it's valid. So you tend to get a lot of hate by being in the middle and by trying to see it from both sides, because each side doesn't want you to do that. Each side wants you to take their position or shut up. And so by being able to like see it in the middle, I really try not to take an adamant position. And I mean, like, we can discuss this like one-on-one or however you want to discuss it, but I genuinely think that the key to living a good life and avoiding getting caught up in really contested political issues is by being able to see both sides and being like, okay, like I see where you're coming from and I understand why you debate this position the way you do. However, can you see it from this other side? And can you see why people might support the opposite of what you believe? And that can be really hard for people. It's a really good indication if you want to know if you're hanging out with somebody or you're interacting with somebody who is an intelligent, well-rounded, thoughtful person, start getting into a debate with them and then ask them to debate the other side. Ask them to say, okay, I understand your position, but how would you, if you were to switch your belief and completely, 360 switch it, how would you defend the opposite position? And why do you think people might support that? And if the person is unable to do that, it shows a degree of like small-mindedness and an inability to see things from other people's perspectives. It shows a lack of empathy, and frankly, it's also lazy. Like, it's lazy if you say, well, I can't understand why those people believe the thing they do. You're being lazy. You are able to, and to be able to understand that, like if I grew up in Saudi Arabia, I would have a very different worldview than I do having grown up in Canada on a farm, So the idea that you are somehow virtuous for having your beliefs, you're not. It's just a product of where you grew up and where you're from, I really dislike when you get people on either side of the political spectrum acting as if they are superior and they're so much better and their way of life and their culture is better, because if you were born in another part of the world, you would speak a different language, you would pray to a different God, you would have different beliefs, and your entire being is subject to what you experienced growing up. And very few people can seem to understand that, which is really incredible. It's incredible that you can have such strongly held beliefs and not realize that those beliefs are completely determined by your environment and your external circumstances. Like, they have nothing to do with your your innate core, your soul, your being. They have nothing to do with that. Like I said, if you were born somewhere else, you'd have different beliefs. So the sign that you are interacting with somebody who is a pretty exceptional and well-rounded, well-meaning human being is that ability to see from other people's perspectives and say, okay, yeah, no, I see why they view it this way. Maybe it was because they grew up this way, or, they don't view it in the same context that I might view it, and you can take any controversial issue ever, and you can do that. I've done it with issues like gay marriage, which is a good example. So there are people across the world who highly disagree with gay marriage for several different reasons, and as a gay guy myself, I don't agree with people having a negative opinion of gay marriage. I don't think it's anyone else's business. I think it's like my internal framework says, like, no, that's fine. If two people of the same gender want to get married, they should be allowed to. I can, however, understand why a fundamentalist Christian, I can understand why a person from a very conservative society would disagree with it. I can understand their point of view. I don't necessarily agree, and I don't have to agree with the issues that they have with gay marriage. However, I can understand it, and if I grew up in a different part of the world and I wasn't gay, maybe I would have that exact same view. Maybe I would have that exact same perspective. So please don't mistake me for justifying how other people act, but I just wanted to come on and sort of allow people to kind of look at their political decisions and their views a little bit differently. But please let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.